Hi, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to walk you through some of the content of the IWC CMS online whale watching handbook. The Whale Watching Handbook is a resource designed to help promote responsible whale watching with a number of different target groups around the world. These can include those responsible for managing whale watching, the general public who might be interested in participating in whale watching and preparing for a trip, or those involved in the industry itself. For each of these different user groups, we have different specific content that's been developed. For managers, we have a series of articles, original articles, that provide information on the importance of adopting responsible whale watching practices, and the flip side of that, which is what can happen if responsible whale watching is not conducted and animals are disturbed to the point where they may not be available for whale watching in the long term. We provide information on management strategies and tools, monitoring and enforcement, and guidelines and regulations, as well as how to involve a wide range of stakeholders in adaptive management of whale watching. For the general public, we have some original articles on what constitutes responsible whale watching, how to choose a responsible whale watch tour operator, and how they could contribute to science and conservation during their tours. For industry stakeholders, who could include whale watch operators, captains, guides, or those responsible for booking whale watching tours through travel agencies, we have information about how to use responsible practices as a means to promote a particular business or operator, and how to ensure that whale watching in that particular location involves and contributes to the local community and can also contribute to science and conservation, as well as the education of those who participate in their tours. So let's have a look at some of this specific content and how it can be accessed on the site. The Whale Watching Handbook features an interactive map, and all of the countries that are highlighted on this map are those that have some detailed information available. For each country, there is a whale watching country profile, some information on the species of interest that are targeted for whale watching in that country, case studies for most of the countries that are featured, and the guidelines that are in force in that country. Clicking on any of these links will take you to more detailed information. So if we look at the Mexico country profile, we can see the general format that country profiles follow. There's some background information with a map. There's a table that highlights the species that are available for whale watching in that country, the towns and harbors where whale watching tours are offered, the platforms that are used for whale watching, and the times of year that different species are present and available for whale watching activities. There's a section on regulations and guidelines in that particular country, and some information on research that's conducted on whale watching in the country. Most of the country profiles, along with all of the core content and some of the species information, have been translated into Spanish and French, thanks to a very generous contribution from the Convention on Migratory Species. So you can see this Mexico country profile, for example, is available in Spanish as well as in English. And that's also true for many of the case studies. We'll skip back to English for now and have a look at the case studies. There are 23 case studies featured in the handbook at the moment, and these are all intended to illustrate different aspects of managing whale watching around the world. They tend to focus on different species and different issues that can arise during the management of whale watching. So if we look at this one on the ACOBAM's High Quality Whale Watching Certificate, you'll see the general format that these follow. They always begin with a section on history and context, a core section on what's being implemented and illustrated in that particular case study, and then, most importantly, every case study ends with a section on lessons learned and recommendations for the future, so that users can understand what's happened in other locations and apply the lessons learned to their own whale watching situations. The handbook also features a range of downloadable resources and species information. So there are 22 species that are featured in the handbook at the moment, and for each of these species, there's information available in two different formats. The long format features quite detailed information on the web page. It includes illustrated and labeled illustrations of the species, pointing out the most recognizable features of that particular species, dive and blow profiles, global distribution maps, some information on the species biology and ecology, how the species is researched, its conservation status, and some of the threats that it's faced with, as well as how that species features in whale watching around the world. For every species featured, there's also a short A4 fact sheet, where we've tried to capture in one A4 page some of the most salient information about that species, including the labeled illustration, conservation status, global distribution map, and some fun facts. These are intended to be printed and laminated for use on a boat or to be shown on a tablet so that they can be used by guides or other types of educators to engage their clients or students. Other downloadable resources on the handbook include tables with different resources, either websites or reports for managers, for industry. There's a glossary of whale watching language, and there's some region-specific species ID guides. There's a table of guidelines and regulations that are in force in different locations around the world. These are labeled by country or by area. Some have been provided, some are national laws, others are best practice guides that have been provided by different NGOs or organizations. There is also a searchable table of scientific literature. This features over 450 peer-reviewed journal articles and reports, and each one contains detailed information that can be accessed by clicking on it. It will bring you to information about the author and will include the abstract, which can be very useful. These resources can also be filtered by title or author, by year, or by keyword. So if we type in education here, for example, we'll get a filtered list of all of those peer-reviewed journal articles and reports that focus on the use of education to help raise awareness among whale watching clientele. Another new feature of the handbook that's been added in the past year is a section on resources for guides and educators. This section contains a table with lots of links to external websites. These provide all kinds of fantastic resources, including posters and infographics, classroom activities, and different kinds of hands-on information that's useful for guides and educators. We also, at the request of industry users, commissioned an artist to design some tailor-made fact sheets for us that help to demonstrate and illustrate some of the most basic aspects of whale and dolphin biology and ecology. These include differences between whales and dolphins, as well as dolphins and sharks. They include explanation of echolocation, baleen whale filter feeding, marine food webs, whale and dolphin anatomy, habitats, and threats. So this is just a very quick run through. I hope you'll take some time to really explore the handbook on your own and see what's there for yourself and for any colleagues that you think might be able to make use of this. We welcome suggestions for new content, particularly downloadable resources, and also for content that could be developed over time as time and resources allow. Thank you very much and enjoy the handbook.